We're going to get into Laura Loomer, free spirit Laura Loomer, asking Pentagon press secretary questions about the Muslim Brotherhood. And you might be wondering, what the f is Laura Loomer doing in that room? Well, that's because the people in that room have signed a loyalty pledge to the Pentagon. And those who did not sign said loyalty pledge to the Pentagon, which literally includes Fox News, by the way, are not in that room. Let's take a look at some of the wonderful minds that are now in the press briefings of the Pentagon now.
Now that the president has started the process of designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign Islamic terrorist organization, will the Department of War still proceed with selling F-15 fighter jets to Qatar? And how will they be able to train Qatari pilots at their air base in Idaho if Qatar is included in the designation?
Thank you for the question. We take very seriously our partnerships, and we always do thorough evaluations to make sure that they protect our intelligence, our operations.
Yeah, New Media Week at the Pentagon is happening right now, and the DoD has brought in a phalanx of newly accredited members of the press corps, some of whom, Laura Loomer and Cam Higbee, are competing to claim sole possession of the Washington Post's former desk. Note, they aren't the same desk. Here is Laura Loomer saying, the Washington Post and Dan Lamothe used to occupy this desk inside the Pentagon press room. Now it's mine. I can confirm the former Washington Post Pentagon desk is now the Fearless Media desk. This is Cam Higbee of PragerU. And Dan Lamothe actually got in on the fun and said, y'all are going to have to work this one out for yourselves. Because R.C. Maxwell also said, the Pentagon cubicle that used to belong to Dan Lamothe is now mine. Out with the propagandists and hacks. In with the truth tellers who love America. Every single person is saying they got Dan Lamothe's. Joey Manorino is another person that got the press pass, by the way, at the Department of War. Look. Listen, a lot of the previous mainstream media Department of Defense reporters are already major dick riders of the American State Department to begin with. This is probably the weakest aspect of truth in journalism. It also is some of the strongest parts of at least press history, okay? You have some of the greatest reporters in American history that have come from this background. And in recent years, unfortunately, some of the worst, okay? Having said that, this new devaluation, this new regression that we're experiencing is, and I can't believe I'm saying this once again, completely unprecedented. It's not enough that you have NatSec writers who are already taking the outline of whatever the State Department is saying and repeating it verbatim ad nauseum in the New York Times or in Washington Post. That wasn't enough at all. We have now moved into a new era where even that's not enough. You have to quite literally sign a loyalty pledge to the Pentagon to be in that room. It is so f***ed up that even Fox News refused to sign said loyalty pledge that dictated that you cannot report on any information that you get from the Pentagon that the Pentagon doesn't sign off on ahead of time. Okay? Per the Associated Press, The Post, Associated Press, CNN, Reuters, and Newsmax were some of the outlets that said Monday that they had requested special access to the Pentagon to cover question and answer sessions, but were denied. Instead, you have Joey Manorino and Laura Loomer and Cam Higbee and all of the annoying reply guys that you see in my replies on Twitter. Now those are the only guys in the Pentagon press pool for the new media hour. Okay? It's I don't know where we go from here, you know? And Ryan Grimm has obviously been pissed off. Cam, you signed a document promising not to do real journalism in exchange for this desk. You are a disgrace to the craft. Nobody cares if you have a degree. Break some news or shut the f up. Being given a desk by the government is not an achievement. Okay? And then Lance Videos replies, quote, retweets and says, not true whatsoever. We are allowed to ask any questions and post anything we'd like. Stop lying at Ryan Grimm. To which Ryan Grimm replied with, show us the document you signed. Okay? Cam Higbee says, Ryan, the full document has been publicly posted since October. Please do some real journalism, Mr. Journalist. Here it is. To which Ryan replied with, Cam, I was hoping you hadn't signed this document, but maybe you hadn't actually read it. You have now promised only to solicit information from approved government sources, promise not to speak to sources who aren't explicitly authorized to speak with you, and have promised not to even post on social media that you are interested in getting tips. At least the military spokespeople are getting paid by the military. You're doing their job for free. You somehow made the mainstream media look good. And it's true. This document was so insane. This document was so insane that even Fox News did not sign off on it. Okay? I need you to understand something. Fox News did not sign off on this document. That's how psychotic this is. Okay? Cam Higby replies with, well, thank you, Ryan, for proving my point. This says simply that we cannot illegally solicit classified information, which also applied to the old press corps. Okay, man, enjoy whatever it is you think you're doing over there. Just stop calling it journalism if it doesn't involve obtaining and publishing what the government wants hidden. Every day they allow you into the building under these compromised conditions is another day you have debased yourself. It's so crazy. He's like, oh, well, it just means you can't illegally solicit classified information. Yeah, except if they change the boundaries of what they, the government, considers to be illegal. First of all, what do you mean illegally solicit information? You're a goddamn journalist, okay? You're still going to get, sometimes you're going to report on some of the most important signature achievements in contemporary reporting have literally come from hacked materials, okay? Number one. Number two, can you imagine a world where the Republicans would feel some type of way if, for example, the Biden administration took the initiative to refuse to work with reporters that reported on illegally obtained information, like the Biden, the Hunter Biden laptop saga. Okay? Sorry, you can't report on whistleblowers. That we've decided that's illegal. Sorry, you can't report on anything that the WikiLeaks has figured out because that's illegally obtained information. You can't report on the Hunter Biden laptop. You can't report on Hillary's emails. Now, the reason why I brought up Hunter Biden's laptop is ironically because that is something that they were very mad about. That was a huge gripe for Republican reporters, right? For Republican newscasters, for Republican commentators. They were really mad about that shit. Now they're signing off on they're basically signing off on access. They're trading off access for conceding ahead of time that they will not be doing any real reporting on any of the shit that they're getting from being inside of that room. It's awesome. It is totally ridiculous.
Security, and that they serve the best interests of the American people. The U.S. military has a longstanding partnership with Qatar.
Yeah, it's not illegal to get information. It's just illegal to get illegal information. Duh, this is an intelligent point. Yeah, also, it's illegal. What they have decided is illegal information, which is anything they haven't signed off on. Then you're not doing journalism. You're just quite literally repeating whatever the press release is. The press secretary sounds like a child. Hey, listen, it's new media hour at the Pentagon, okay? Excuse me.
And we look forward to continuing that partnership at our airbase in Idaho. And I would just point out that for reference, the Mountain Home, Idaho Air Base.
I do love that the contentious reporting, the adversarial journalism taking place here is, why isn't the Trump administration being more Islamophobic? Shouts out to Laura Loomer for that one. Real adversarial reporting happening here, okay? Why can't we just start shooting Muslims or suspected Muslims on crowded American streets? What's happening there? When will we be allowed to start personally deporting random people we suspect of being Muslim?
Just Qataris that train there. There are also Singapore military folks that are there as well. So it is a base that we do a lot of foreign military training, and we are thankful for those partnerships, and we'll continue to evaluate all of those to make sure, again, that national security is protected. That is the Secretary's utmost priority.
But given the fact that the Qatari royal family and Qatar itself is
look at the questioning, now that the Trump administration has correctly designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist operation, why won't they stop training the allied nation of Qatar that happens to house the U.S. Central Command? the entire base of operations for the Middle East region. What is this question? You're just mad because they're Muslim. That's it. That's literally it. Laura Loomer is such a freak. The entire question revolves around why won't you be more racist towards Muslims, even if they are long-standing security partners?
Big financier, along with Turkey, of course, the financier of the Muslim Brotherhood. Would
Again, Turkey, NATO ally, once again.
that relationship and partnership be reevaluated since the designation could possibly include Qatar?
I'm not tracking any reevaluation at this time, but again, the Secretary really keeps national security top of mind, and this administration does as well. So we will always make sure that American assets are protected.
Now to the growing controversy over deadly U.S. airstrikes on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. The White House at first denied there was a follow-up attack that killed 2 survivors of the first strike. Now it says, yep, there was a second attack, but insists that it was all very legal. Defense Secretary Pete...
I'm assuming you already covered that video on Laura Loomer trying to flirt. Chatter, I covered that video probably every 6 months for the past 7 years that video has been out. I saw that it was going viral again on Twitter, and I love it. But ironically enough, I had actually recently covered the video on my broadcast right before it went viral on Twitter.
Texas faces new questions from lawmakers, in both parties about exactly what happened here. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with the latest on this. Nancy, Rob just said something about a dicey commute. I think things are getting very dicey at the White House this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Quite dicey, Gail, when you have lawmakers openly asking whether this was a war crime. Now, just days ago, the Secretary of Defense called this story fabricated. He said,
yeah, remember when I told you that they were going to own it? And they did. And now you can't live without it. They went from, we didn't do it, but if we did do it, then it was good. And actually, we need to do more of it.
It was inflammatory. But then yesterday, the White House confirmed the military did make a second strike on a suspected Venezuelan drug boat in September.
Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes.
Reading from prepared remarks, the White House press secretary said Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did order this strike on a suspected drug boat on September 2nd, but did not issue an order to kill everybody, as the Washington Post first reported this weekend. Instead, she said it was Navy Admiral Frank Bradley's decision to order a second strike to ensure the boat was destroyed.
Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law.
Her comments came just one day after President Trump claimed there was no second strike.
No, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal, it was fine, and if there were 2 people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
The shifting explanations frustrated lawmakers.
You see, Pete said it didn't happen, and I believe him. He's my big, beautiful Pete. He's my big, beautiful Pete.
From both sides, who are now demanding to see the orders and the video of the second strike.
We're going to conduct oversight, and we're going to try to get to the facts.
It's already been crystal clear that Pete Hegseth is the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history.
Levin insisted the strike was conducted in self-defense and did not violate the rules of armed conflict. But DOD's Law of War Manual states that shipwrecked combatants are in a helpless state, and it would be dishonorable and inhumane to make them the object of attack.
The second strike is a war crime because these individuals were injured. They were in the water.
My woke goat. Dude, every day they go back. Every time now, it's just, here, we will hear from Leon Panetta, Mr. Woke. Mr. Woke. Here's former CIA director will tell you why this is a different type of war crime.
The basic rules of war that are involved here make very clear that you do not strike wounded people in the water.
I mean, he's not wrong.
That's coming from a former Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta.
Or Secretary of Defense, sorry, not
about a recent call between President Trump and Venezuelan President Maduro. The Miami Herald is reporting that Maduro told Trump he's willing to leave the country in exchange for full legal amnesty, among other demands. Trump rejected his offer, according to the Herald, and instead told the Venezuelan president that he had a week to resign and leave the country, which has not happened, Tony.
He was both.
Nancy, speaking of learning more while we have you, the White...
Okay, well, listen, I'm not doing all right now, okay? This is insane and evil. Hopefully the lawsuit succeeds. Trump administration says it will withhold SNAP from Democrat-led states. Amazing. Amazing.
White House also released details of the president's recent medical MRI test. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this got a lot of attention because the president kept claiming he didn't know why he got an MRI. Well, now the White House has released a memo from President Trump's physician that said that Mr. Trump underwent advanced imaging of his abdomen and his cardiovascular system for preventative reasons. His doctor said that Trump's cardiovascular imaging is perfectly normal and shows excellent health. The White House did not release the actual report from the radiologist, Tony.
Yes, Wade.
Oh, I forgot. There's also this from the new totally independent Pentagon press corps asking if the White House is going to sue the Washington Post for defaming Pete Hegseth.
We were speaking earlier about the Washington Post report concerning the Secretary of War and Admiral Bradley. And my question is, does the Department of War plan on pursuing any sort of legal action against the Washington Post, and what consequences will there be for lying to the American people? Because, of course, the implication there was that Pete Hegseth and Admiral Bradley are war criminals, and that was the implication, and that's what a lot of people on social media were saying after the fact. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, it is frankly disgusting that the Washington Post would publish something that is so insanely false. And we've seen this from the mainstream media before, right? Anonymous sources that are being quoted that probably have no idea what's going on. And the Washington Post actually went so far as to falsely attribute a quote to the Secretary of War, that he never said. That is preposterous that they would write that and pass that off as true journalism. Thankfully, the New York Times stepped in and corrected the record and let the American people know that what they were publishing was absolutely fake news. So the Washington Post, I think readership should think twice before reading that outlet again. It is disgraceful that they call themselves journalists, and we told them as such, right? We get press queries like we do from all of you. We told them this story was completely fake news on Thanksgiving evening with a 3-hour deadline, and they still published it anyway. It's disgraceful, but thankfully the American people see through it.
Fake news. Your outfit looks so good. Thank you. You missed Matt Gaetz in the press pool? No, I didn't. I saw it. Yeah, Matt Gaetz is... Why is Matt Gaetz there? Is he dating this baby? No. She's too old for Matt. Come on now. If she was doing Goo Goo Gaga up there, maybe that would be age appropriate for Matty boy.